Tonight, the final end for a 135-year-old curling club in Winnipeg. Reaction to the Thistle Curling Club's merger coming up.
This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with the death of a patient waiting to be seen at Winnipeg's largest hospital, now under investigation as a potential critical incident. It happened Monday night at Health Sciences Centre. CBC's Stephanie Cram reports.
Inside the Health Sciences Centre Monday night, a patient waiting for care in the emergency room died. The president of the Nurses Union says a death like this was unavoidable.
What happens is we play the shell game. We just move patients around depending on what's happening with them.
Patients have reported having to wait hours to be seen. This afternoon, wait times were between 5 and 6 hours at HSC. The details of what happened aren't known. Health Minister Audrey Gordon was questioned about the patient wait times.
We are going to continue to work with Shared Health, the health system leaders, to ensure that individuals are streamlined.
When pressed on the death at HSC, Gordon reiterated that Manitobans don't always need to go to the ER to get the care they need.
When they come to the emergency department, to ensure that they are triaged and allowed to make decisions about where is the best place for them to receive the care that they need.
Minister, all right, thank you very much, folks. I'm challenging you on that point. Patient flow, repeatedly, we keep hearing it's not the issue. We hear it's actually a capacity issue.
We cannot have those running our healthcare system running away from questions. We need to be able to get answers.
Jackson says sending patients to urgent care or walk-in clinics isn't a solution to packed ERs.
For many of the individuals who live in that area, there is no other option for them. They go to HSC Emergency because that's the only place they can go for.
The Nurses Union says conditions like the one seen at HSC are happening elsewhere. Wait times are high and patients aren't being seen. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, concerns about healthcare dominated the first day of the spring legislative session. MLAs were back today for the final sitting before an election slated for October. The incident at HSC, home care deficiencies and rural hospital closures dominated question period. Finance Minister Cliff Cullen is set to table this year's budget on Tuesday. The province's recent recruitment trip to the Philippines also came up at the legislature today. And as you may have seen on the National tonight, we are hearing from health officials in the Philippines. They question the ethics of Manitoba's nurse recruitment drive. The Philippines Department of Health is short about 350,000 nurses. That has officials overseas wishing they could convince the nurses who might be bound for Manitoba not to leave the Philippines.
As we all know, we cannot force them to stay. It is their right to seek greener pastures. But as I've said, there should be something that we can incentivize them with so that they would really...
Officials in the Philippines say Manitoba should compensate the country with investments in nurse training there. Several Winnipeg streets could soon have their speed limits lowered permanently. The city has selected more than 24 stretches of road where it wants to set speed limits at 30 kilometers per hour. CBC's Cameron McLean spoke to residents on one of those streets who say the slower speeds will come as a relief.
Nelson Sanderson has lived on Harbiston Avenue West for 25 years. He sees lots of kids walking across the narrow street.
You know, they'll have maybe 3 or 4 little ones, and you know, like sometimes you get nervous even them crossing the street.
He often sees cars speeding down Harbiston. That's why he supports a proposal to lower the speed limit from 50 to 30. The city has chosen 27 street sections for the reduced speeds. In 2021, the city piloted reduced speeds on 4 streets that are part of the cycling network. Now the city wants to expand the project in order to make more streets safer for cyclists.
We don't have room in a lot of areas to put separated bike paths in. We just don't.
The proposal to reduce speeds on cycling routes comes as the city is trying out lowering speeds on all residential streets in 4 neighborhoods, including here in Borkvale. This advocate is excited to see the city moving ahead with lowering speeds.
We've dedicated an awful lot of space in Winnipeg for people to drive cars, and we would just like for all users to have the opportunity to be able to access our communities in a way that's comfortable for them. So I think this is definitely a good step in that direction.
The city will start by reducing speeds on 10 streets, including this street here, Harbison Avenue West. The reduced speeds will go into effect sometime later this spring. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Some academics and members of the LGBTQ community are pushing back against a planned lecture. Posters for a lecture by University of Winnipeg professor Joanne Boucher show she has a talk planned for Friday. It is titled "The Commodification of the Human Body, the Case of Transgender Identities." There are concerns that lecture could spread harmful views about transgender and non-binary people. Elliot Long is a trans student at the U of W and couldn't believe it when he heard about the talk.
Seems very bizarre to me why they would promote this talk that is specifically singling out trans people, you know, like.
Long wants to see the lecture cancelled. Boucher declined to be interviewed by CBC. The University of Winnipeg hasn't yet responded to requests for comment. One of the province's oldest curling clubs is closing its doors and putting the rink up for sale. The owners of Thistle Curling Club in Winnipeg say the club was facing financial difficulties and losses. The club will merge with Deer Lodge next season. Thistle facilities manager Nate Glover says he doesn't yet know what this means for he and 8 other staff members.
The club itself has been around since 1887. We've been in many different buildings over the course of the years, but in this present facility since 2006.
Thistle is in its 135th year of operation. It's currently one of around 100 Curling Manitoba member clubs in the province. All right, let's take a live look at downtown Winnipeg tonight. It sure cooled off after the sun set earlier this evening. It was a quiet start to March weather-wise today as well. Meteorologist John Sauter has his forecast coming up next.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. The trade and upgrade event is on now.
We'll start tonight with a look at some sunset times today just after 6 o'clock, around 6:11, and then next week at this time, 6:22. But then look what happens. Our time changes. We change our clocks anyway on March 12th. So by 2 weeks from now, sun will be setting at 7:32, and then a week later on March 22nd at 7:43. Just a few clouds tonight. There will be some building cloud in northern Manitoba tomorrow. Thompson, Norway House, Flin Flon, the Paw, all under cloudy skies, but brighter skies through Churchill and down through Gillam and Shamattawa. Churchill only getting the mid-20s tomorrow. Thompson more like -11. Here in the south, we're looking at temperatures getting back into the minus single digits, and we'll see some increasing cloud and some gusty wind in the afternoon. By Friday, snow missing Winnipeg to the north, certainly through the Interlake into Friday morning, and then moving off to the east on Friday afternoon, and we'll start to see a sun-cloud mix here on Friday. Still a cool one tonight, down into the -20s. Tomorrow, though, we start to warm up a little bit, -7, south winds gusting to 50 in the afternoon. And then as we move on into the weekend, 0 on Friday, really mild weekend, -1s and -2s, and seasonal, but cloudier heading into next week.
Thank you, John. That is your late news for this Wednesday. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow at 6 and 11. Have a great night.